What? What are you doing? My daughter and her husband had come back to visit with their child, staying at my house. While I was playing with my 6-year-old granddaughter and her dolls, she suddenly started taking off their clothes. Then, she made the male and female dolls move in an unsettling way. Could it be? My granddaughter stared at me with teary eyes, holding her stomach. Realizing the meaning behind her actions, I was consumed with rage. I won't forgive this. I'll drag him to hell. And so began my battle to protect my precious family. Come in, all three of you. You must be tired from the trip, I said, welcoming my daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter as they arrived at my home. Since Christmas was approaching, they had decided to stay for a week.
I'm sorry, Mom. Are we being a burden?
My daughter, Hillary, asked. Of course not, Hillary. This is your home too. Come back whenever you want, no need to hesitate, I said, smiling at her while patting the head of my 6-year-old granddaughter, Lily. Having lost my husband and living alone at 66, I actually felt more at ease with people around. As I served tea, I decided to ask about how they'd been recently. How's work going, James?
It's going well.
James replied.
Balancing teaching students and working on my own papers is challenging, but fulfilling.
James was a professor at a prestigious university, earning a decent salary. Still, my daughter had chosen to work outside the home, saying she wanted to stay connected to society.
Hillary's 3 months pregnant now, though, so I'd like her to stay home soon,
James said.
I'm fine for now.
Hillary replied.
I plan to keep working until it gets too hard to move around.
While I didn't want her to overdo it, I admired her determination and listened quietly. At that moment, Lily, who had been silent until then, looked up at me and asked,
Grandma, can I help with anything?
Let's see. I've already made dinner, so how about helping me carry the plates later? Lily, though quiet and reserved, was a wonderful child who actively helped me and her mother. James smiled and placed a hand on Lily's head, saying,
Lily, you're such a good girl.
But Lily frowned, as if she didn't like her head being touched. That's odd, she didn't make that face when I patted her earlier. James didn't seem to notice, and I decided not to say anything, worried he might take it the wrong way. As dinner time approached, I stood in the kitchen with my daughter, preparing the meal. While plating the dishes, I found myself reminiscing about the days before she got married. Hillary said,
Mom, do you remember how you wrote down all those recipes for me when I told you I was getting married?
Of course. Back then, you didn't know how to do anything. How about now? I replied with a smile.
Perfect. Both James and Lily love my cooking. Thank you so much. It's been a huge help.
Hillary answered with a grateful grin. As we chatted, I noticed my granddaughter glancing at us while helping set the table. Lily, do you need something from Grandma? I asked. Startled, Lily quickly replied,
No, Nothing.
and scurried back to the living room. Hillary and I exchanged puzzled looks, watching her leave. Once dinner was ready, the four of us sat at the table and enjoyed lively conversation. However, something felt off to me. James, my son-in-law, appeared to be a kind husband and father on the surface, but there was something about him that didn't sit right. For instance, his response to Hillary's excitement about the baby seemed strange. Hillary said,
I can't wait for the second baby to arrive.
James replied with a smile.
Yeah, though it'll mean more expenses, and we'll need to think about the mortgage. Plus, it'll be even more work, but I'm looking forward to it.
While his face showed a smile, his words carried a subtle hint of sarcasm. What's more, every time Hillary mentions the baby or the second child, I notice James furrow his brows ever so slightly. Thanks to a certain experience in my younger years, I had developed a habit of observing people's gestures and expressions, which is probably why I picked up on this unease. Could it be, is James not happy about the baby? It was just a hunch, and even if true, I couldn't understand why he might feel that way, so I chose to keep silent. After dinner, Hillary and I cleared the table and flipped through a catalog of baby products.
Mom, do you have any recommendations?
Hillary asked. Well, it's been decades since I raised a child, so I'm not sure how helpful I can be. I replied.
James, come take a look with us.
Hillary called.
Ah, give me a minute. I'm checking an email from the university.
James said, engrossed in his smartphone. He seemed uninterested in the catalog, and what's more, his demeanor while supposedly working felt suspicious, almost too cheerful. I knew it, something's definitely not right. I thought, quietly observing him. Just then, my granddaughter approached me.
Grandma, will you play with me?
Lily asked. Of course. I'd love to, I replied with a smile. Lily brought over a pair of dolls, one male and one female, and we moved to a spot slightly away from her parents to play. But something about her behavior struck me as odd. She suddenly began undressing the dolls. At first, I thought she was going to change their outfits, but instead, she held them in her hands and made them perform a certain action. It was an act that no child her age should know about, utterly inappropriate and shocking. Lily? What are you doing? I whispered, shielding her from her parents' view. When I looked at her, I noticed tears welling up in her eyes, and she was clutching her stomach. No, this can't be. Realizing what she might be trying to communicate, I felt my blood run cold. This has to be a joke. Who would? But how? I suspected that Lily was using her playtime to send me a silent message, one she didn't want her parents to hear. To avoid raising suspicion, I told her parents. Lily says she wants to go outside. I'll take her for a quick walk. With that, I took Lily to a nearby park. Lily, what was that with the dolls? What did it mean? I gently asked as we strolled through the park. Lily, clearly anxious, hesitated to speak. A naturally quiet child, She struggled to find the words. To help her relax, I placed her on a swing and gave her some time. It's okay, Lily. Grandma will wait until you're ready to talk. Little by little, she began to explain, her words halting but sincere. What she revealed was a horrifying truth, one so devastating it could shatter her family. No. James, could he really have? I was left speechless, trembling with rage. Knowing their home was far away, I realized that if I let them return without acting, it would be nearly impossible to gather evidence against James. I needed to solve this before they left after Christmas. Lily, it's okay now. Leave everything to Grandma, I assured her, my voice steady despite my anger. Drawing on my past experience, I decided to expose James's secret and bring him to justice. I will never forgive you, James. I'll drag you to the depths of hell. Thus began my mission to protect my family. Using every resource I had, I started gathering evidence against James. But during my investigation, I uncovered an even more shocking truth. Fueled by my growing hatred, I carefully prepared for what I knew would be a decisive confrontation. The showdown will happen at Christmas. I'll make sure James gets what he deserves before he leaves. Clenching my fists, I steeled myself for the battle ahead. Before we knew it, Christmas Day arrived. After finishing a thorough cleaning of the house, we gathered in the living room to watch a Christmas-themed movie on TV. As the film played on, little Lily had already fallen sound asleep. As the movie reached its climax, James spoke up.
I'm so glad we were able to celebrate Christmas peacefully this year.
He bowed his head slightly while sitting comfortably under the table. But both my daughter and I stared at him with grim expressions. Enjoy your freedom while it lasts. It won't be for much longer, I said coldly.
What? What do you mean by that?
He looked up, startled, realizing something was wrong. My daughter and I exchanged knowing glances. I've already told Hillary the truth, everything about your misdeeds, I said, pulling out a brown envelope. I emptied its contents onto the table, revealing a stack of photographs. They included screenshots of text messages between James and another woman, as well as selfies of the two posted on social media. James hurriedly tried to gather up the evidence, but I continued mercilessly. Oh, Amy, is it? She's quite a young and beautiful woman, isn't she? I said sarcastically. James froze, visibly shaken.
How much do you know?
Like I said, everything. What James didn't know was that I had a secret past.
I never told you, but my mother used to work part-time at a detective agency when she was young. Investigating affairs like this is second nature to her.
My daughter's calm but piercing words made James's face turn pale.
What? You never told me that. Why would you keep that a secret?
There wasn't any reason to tell you, until now. As James began to panic, my daughter's expression grew colder, almost indifferent. Watching them, I shrugged. I never wanted to use those old skills, but you left me no choice. Using techniques I'd mastered back in the day, I had unlocked James's smartphone while he was asleep, captured his chat history, and traced his social media activity. Additionally, I reached out to a former colleague who now ran a detective agency to help me dig deeper. What we uncovered was damning. Amy, your little girlfriend, is one of your students at the university where you teach, isn't she? I said. James, now backed into a corner, snapped.
So what? Every man prefers younger women. It's only natural.
His brazen response angered Hillary so much that she nearly slapped him, but I stopped her and pressed on. Oh, and by the way, I reached out to Amy directly. She told me everything. James's eyes widened in shock. What's more, I've seen the messages where you and Amy discussed a certain plan to get rid of Hillary.
That was just a joke.
Oh. Amy didn't think so. She told me she's backed out of the plan entirely.
What? That traitor!
Realizing he just admitted his guilt, James clamped his hand over his mouth, but it was too late. His confession hung heavily in the air. I had bluffed when I contacted Amy, claiming Hillary was already aware of their plan. Frightened, Amy confessed everything, revealing that James had been planning to harm Hillary so he could live with her. However, Amy had no intention of committing to James long-term. For her, it had been nothing more than a casual fling.
Damn it! Women are all the same. Completely unreliable.
As James spiraled into despair, Hillary took out a document and placed it firmly on the table.
I can't believe you cheated on me and even plotted to harm me. I want a divorce.
James stared at the divorce papers, beads of sweat forming on his forehead.
You can't be serious. What about Lily? She'll be heartbroken.
You have the nerve to say that after bringing your mistress into the house in front of your daughter? I shot back. The truth behind Lily's strange doll play became clear. She had been silently trying to tell us about James's behavior. She had even mimicked the way he held his mistress, and her gesture of clutching her stomach had been a way of expressing her concern for her pregnant mother.
I don't need a father who makes my daughter cry. And I'll make sure the university hears about this. Neither you nor Amy will have a place there anymore.
No! Please! Anything but that!
James fell to his knees, bowing and begging for forgiveness. But his performance didn't fool us. You brought this on yourself, I said coldly. Now, be a man and face the consequences. At that moment, James snapped, lunging at us in desperation. But with all potential weapons removed from the room earlier, he grabbed nothing but the TV remote. He swung it clumsily at me, but using self-defense techniques I'd learned as a young investigator, I disarmed him and delivered a stinging slap across his face. Enough of this. The police are already on their way. Enjoy spending the rest of your Christmas behind bars. When the police arrived, James was dragged away, screaming and begging for mercy. Following his arrest, James lost his job at the university and was convicted for his crimes. Hillary filed for divorce and received $150,000 in alimony and child support. Amy, too, faced consequences. Her family paid $20,000 in damages, and she was disowned by her parents after learning the truth. Publicly disgraced, she dropped out of university. Hillary and Lily moved in with me, and our family has been rebuilding ever since. The baby boy in her womb is growing healthily, and we're expecting his arrival later this year. Lily often talks to her little brother, eagerly awaiting the day they meet. As I watched my family thrive, I couldn't help but smile.
Thank you, Grandma, for saving Mommy.
Well, Grandma's a detective, after all. It's good to know those old skills still come in handy, I said, winking playfully. What did you think of this story? Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.